right. Hi, folks. This is Ask a Trainer, and today we are going to be talking about how to submit a TK proposal. I am Alexandria Clapp, the content manager for learning technologies and sciences at ATD, and today I have with me the lovely Cait Quinn.
Hi, everybody.
Cait manages an instructional design team at SiriusXM, and she is our TK23 Program Advisory Committee Chair. So we're super grateful for Cait. She volunteers her time to help with our Techknowledge conference. So let's do a little background. Cait, can you tell us in your words a little bit about our TK conference?
So Techknowledge is a really great opportunity for everyone to meet and collaborate with professionals in the industry. It's an exciting time to take time away from your computer and your work and spend time on yourself. You get to hear from experts in the field, and you also get to hear from practitioners who are just doing really cool stuff in their everyday work. And you'll hear all kinds of cool and innovative solutions that they've been working on that they felt like they could share with their peers.
Yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorite things that I get to work on in my portfolio at ATD. It is a true mix of folks who show up, instructional designers, trainers, technology strategists, and are showing innovative solutions and what they're doing in their everyday practice. So we are excited. It's been, past few couple of years of the pandemic of lots of innovative, disruptive things happening. And we hope that you want to share what you're working on with the ATD community at this conference. So let's talk about some important dates. The deadline for our proposal process ends on May 2nd. And Cait, when is the proposal notification happening?
Those usually come out sometime in mid-August. We have to review all the proposals and find the right programming for the whole conference, and then we let everyone know if they've been accepted.
Yes. So once we get all of our proposals in, Cait and the rest of the Programming Advisory Committee will review it. How many times do you guys review it?
Probably 3 times by the time it gets all the way through to the approved list.
Yes. And then our team goes through and then reviews what you guys work on. So it's a very long, intensive process because there's lots of folks who submit, which is great. We have lots of great options to choose from. And then our conference happens February 7th through 9th of 2023 in New Orleans. So we're super excited to be working on this conference for next year. Let's jump into a couple of the questions. Cait, I know you shared a few questions that you've been getting throughout this process since the proposal has been opened. So what are some of the different session types and tracks? And can you talk a little bit about if that matters when you're submitting a proposal?
So there are different session types. You can submit something like a classroom session, which is standing up in front of the group, having a very engaging back and forth with the audience, lots of interactivity where you're sharing maybe a project you worked on or something new and interesting that you've been able to implement in your work. There are also sessions that are hands-on learning where we're asking folks to bring their own device to the hands-on learning and really dive deep into a particular task that you are very knowledgeable about. There are things like panels where you could get some of a group of folks together who can all talk about a particular topic. We've done some really neat panels over the years. And then there are some smaller sessions that are bite-sized learning sessions. They're hyper-focused on one particular topic. They're a little shorter, like 30 to 45 minutes of content. And once you select your session type, then in the next page of the proposal, it'll ask you all the right questions about the session, more details about what track it fits in. So there are several tracks to choose from. I would say choosing your track is less important than the session type. We do want to sort of spread out the sessions that happen in different tracks, but we can certainly find a home for a session if it sort of gets a little muddy about which one it should be part of. So you may think that your working on something that's this whiz-bang new technology for your team, and it very well might be, but it may also just, instead of being an emerging technology, it may just land better and more appropriately in something like a tools track. So take your best shot at that. And that's what we do on the committee, is to make sure that they all get put in their right spots based on what the content of the session actually is.
Yeah, I love that. And you were mentioning the tracks, and we have collaborative and social learning as a track, data and analytics. So I think that those, we change them around a little bit every year. So those are two of the newer ones. Emerging technologies, we've rebranded as disruptive technologies. We've moved some things around. So I think you were giving the example, AR and VR used to be in that emerging tech track. We've moved it this year to platforms and tools, because it's not emerging. We rebranded that track anyways, though, as disruptive tech. It's a little bit different for everyone, right? It's subjective in terms of whether or not you're using some of these technologies. So if we will end up moving track proposals around if we think it fits better in a different track. So that's okay if you are submitting AR and it ends up somewhere, whatever it is. And yeah, I don't know if it's helpful to run through some of the other ones, but we have some of the regulars, the e-learning track, platforms and tools, so tech strategy for leaders, and virtual classroom. Hopefully those track themes are helpful for our next question that you mentioned that folks were asking you about, which is what do you guys look for when you guys are reviewing the proposals, as the programming advisory committee reviewing the proposals?
So I think the main thing we look for is that your session is learner focused. So what am I, as the person sitting in the seat, going to take away from this particular session to help me be better in my work? So things like, are the job applications clear in your proposal? You'll have a spot to put in several applications. And think about that when you're writing your proposal, because everybody does great work. We know that. But we want to make sure that there's a reason that the person is sitting in the room with you, and not just, they could just easily read a white paper about your project. We also look for sessions that are not sales focused. So the purpose of this conference is for everyone to attend and learn and grow about new and interesting things in our industry. We don't need sales pitches for a book you've written or a tool that you made or things like that. So you want to make sure that it's focused specifically on things that people can take away immediately back to their job. And then other things, just make it exciting, make it interesting. A lot of the content that you write into these proposals may wind up being what's shared to the folks attending the conference in terms of your session description, your fun title, and things like that. So as much as I would like to say that I don't read everyone's title and go, ooh, this one's cool, I should read this in more depth, we do. So if you can make it eye-catching to us, then there's a good chance that you're going to be eye-catching to the learners in the conference as well.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it. We definitely use the title, the session description, the applications, and then the abstract is there it's the aside to the committee, right? Who's reviewing it. But it's good to have that in the back of your mind as you're writing it. Is this the session that you would want to go to? Or you can ask a friend, hey, do you like the title of this? Does this sound like something you'd want to check out? Is it straightforward, but it's also kind of fun? And that description, is that description clear? Is it saying what the participants will get out having experience spending time with you in that session? You talked a little bit about that, Cait, the breakdown of the on-the-job applications. Is it something that they can take right away? So I know the TK conference looks a little bit different than maybe other conferences out there. Do you want to talk about that at all?
You mean in terms of what you take away?
Or just, the on-the-job applications. If it looks, if you're applying to a different conference or something, that's a pretty big thing. If in our proposals we don't see that there's a few clear applications.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. So when we get your proposal, I get a website that I read through your whole proposal. But I'll be honest, I look at your title of your session, and then I jump immediately down to where the on the job applications are. And I look at those and I think, are the people attending the conference going to get something out of this based off of what you're listing? So if it's things like how to use Microsoft Outlook, maybe not the right audience for Techknowledge, but how to apply neuroscience to writing your learning objectives. Great. Something like that, where you can actually have actions you take away from the conference, which is something we strive to do with Techknowledge. So people have something they can work on when they get back to their desk.
Cool. I like it. And okay, so you probably have tips because you have already done the proposal process yourself and you've reviewed them for several years. What are some recommendations that you have just from your own personal experience?
So the first thing I'll say is go into the tool and take a look at what we're going to ask you to answer before you even try to write your proposal. In the past, I've tried to come up with a cool proposal and then go in and it's not answering any of the questions we ask. So that's my first suggestion, is to write up your whole proposal, having looked through the form a bit. You do have to kind of click around and fill in some boxes to get from page 1 through, I think it's 4 or 5 pages. But that'll help you in the moment be able to write it better, and also take some time and put some thought into it. I always write my proposal outside of the tool and sort of tweak it a bit. Looking inside the tool, you'll also see you have a limited amount of characters for your session title, for example. You have a limited amount of space to write your abstracts. So all that stuff that can trip you up in the moment, you can sort of plan for before you go in. And there are several steps to it. So you have to put in the description of your session, but then you have to do things like put in your own contact information. If you have a co-presenter, they need all that information in the co-presenter as well. So there's, I think, 4 or 5 main tasks you have to complete before there's a big button that's like, okay, let's do it, submit. So keep that in mind as well. It'll take you a few minutes to fill out, but doing the stuff ahead of time is a good way to save yourself some time.
And I remember Tim last year saying that he sometimes is creating the concept of a session as he's submitting for a proposal. So he hasn't actually created the session fully yet. So it is a good idea to hold on to that description in your application. So when you go and actually build out your session, you are creating those applications. You're including the ones that you said that you were going to cover in your description. And that way it aligns with expectations and you get good reviews when you get accepted and participants are giving you feedback. So it's just a good strategy all around.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I did this year, I submitted with a co-presenter, so who is a close coworker of mine. And we sat down and we wrote it. And then both of us were like, this is too many things. You can't cover this in an hour. We need to trim down, and sort of self-edited what we were planning on submitting, which is also a great idea to bounce it off of somebody who's familiar with the work that you've been doing. It's a lot of times you can get very long-winded and very excited about what you've done, but you don't want to have too lofty of goals to get accomplished in 30, 45, or 60 minutes.
That's a great segue. So do you have any recommendations for how to select a good topic? You know, that sometimes we'll hear people say things like, I'm not sure if this is too easy or if this isn't really groundbreaking. Do you have any recommendations for that?
If you think you've done something interesting that you think your peers would benefit from hearing about, that's a great topic. That's sort of where I leave it. A lot of times, especially with a conference like Techknowledge, where there's tech in the name and there's a lot of whiz-bang new exciting things that we talk about in sessions, people get lost in the fact that what they're doing, even though it may not be new to them, it's very likely it's new to many people who are attending. Our audience of Techknowledge is very wide and varied. So you get people who are brand new to their role that someone thought ahead of time to say, hey, go learn some stuff at a conference so that you can get a sense of what's going on in the industry. And then it goes all the way up to people who are chief learning officers at huge companies. So no matter what you're doing and what projects you are proud of, there's going to be someone who will be interested in hearing what you have to say. And a lot of times what didn't go well and what you learned, because that's a lot of the sessions that I like listening to.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. will often have sessions related to a similar topic, but you can tell that they're sort of at different levels. So someone who might be more in the beginning stages of their career or with a particular tool versus someone who's been using that tool for years and they're working on a more advanced feature. Like I'm thinking of articulate storyline just comes to mind, but there's just lots of different ones like that. There's like beginner AR, and then there's ones where, you would probably not want to go to that session first because it might be covering more advanced tools or different types of applications. And exactly as you said, there's a little bit of something for everyone. There's just such a mix. It's fun to see those demographics of the folks who attend TK, whether they're the consultants who are working on digital transformation, they're managing the learning function, they're instructional designers, learning experience designers, they're facilitators, training managers, a little bit of a mix of everything. But we do get really excited to see new proposals and new speakers. That makes it an exciting experience for everyone, especially folks who have been in the industry and do go to these conferences. We're all rooting and would love to see new folks who have been working on innovative solutions. I always think of the folks who are at small organizations, they've had to wear a lot of different hats, or their budget has totally been slashed the past couple of years from the pandemic. There's just lots of cool ways that people have gotten disruptive or had to innovate and be creative and kind of think outside the box. And this is a perfect place to showcase and celebrate that work that you've done.
Yeah. As someone who works for a fairly large company, I get a lot out of those sessions that are done by individual practitioners and things where they're doing things cheaply, because no one who spends the money at my company is going to be mad if I'm like, actually, we could save thousands of dollars if we use this free tool. These are great things to learn from people with a variety of backgrounds.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're super, super excited. I'm excited to start reviewing these proposals soon and seeing what everyone has come up with. And just a quick reminder again, our proposal, the RFP closes on May 2nd. So we hope to see proposals before then. And if folks have questions, please reach out to myself or Cait. Also, we have our wonderful programming director and specialists at ATD, Bridget Dunn and Tiona. They can help answer questions probably better than Cait and I can. So we're super, super excited to see folks in New Orleans.
Yeah, I can't wait to eat some beignets and learn some cool new stuff.
Awesome. Well, thanks. It was nice to talk to you today, Cait.